Tonight on NewsWatch, abortion among minorities, how the Kermit Gosnell trial sheds light on this disturbing trend. Plus, what did the White House know? Why some lawmakers claim a cover-up in the Benghazi consulate attack. And as Muslims ramp up attacks on Christians, is Nigeria on the brink of civil war? All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. 11 senators are calling for national standards to regulate the abortion industry. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin. Those calls come as America awaits a verdict in the murder trial of abortionist Kermit Gosnell. His Philadelphia clinic went uninspected by Pennsylvania for 17 years. Most of the babies killed in Gosnell's clinic were blacks and minorities. As Paul Strand explains in tonight's top story, some pro-lifers say this is part of a widespread targeting of minorities that stretches over decades.
Late-term abortions kill babies while part of them is still in the birth canal. Kermit Gosnell's clinic allegedly sometimes dispensed with that, delivering the babies, then killing them. The documentary 3801 Lancaster put a spotlight on this.
They would then take scissors and place them at the base of the skull and snip or sever the spinal cord of those children that were born alive.
There was one baby that when it was born, one of the workers was playing with it for several minutes before the worker did exactly what Dr. Gosnell did, snipped the back of the neck.
Pro-life leaders point out most of the babies killed in Gosnell's clinic were minority children, one small part of what many see as a deliberate targeting.
Abortion facilities are purposefully placed in inner cities and minority neighborhoods to crush the bodies of innocent black children.
Pro-life lobbyist Marjorie Dannenfelser says some of those abortionists believe
there are certain members of society that are expendable, that really part of humanity is really just underbrush, to be just kind of swept out because there's not really all that useful.
70% of all abortion facilities are located in the black and minority communities around this country.
Abortion is the #1 killer of African Americans, killing more black people than all other deaths combined.
Pennsylvanian pro-lifer Michael Geer hopes black leaders will begin to cry out.
Groups like Planned Parenthood have a history of targeting minorities and African Americans, and we need to rethink abortion as being good, as some people in that community might think, that it's actually harmful and terrible for their community.
When you are truly targeted by abortionists, when because of the color of your skin there's an assumption that there should be fewer of you, that hurts. It should hurt, and we should react. And even if we're not in those minority communities, we ought to react and say that is absolutely unacceptable.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Amen to that. Well, Kristin Hawkins with Students for Life joins us now with more on this. Kristin, the Gosnell trial is bringing many things out in the open, including the fact that minorities are targeted by the abortion industry. But this is no surprise to you, is it?
No, it's not. And actually, a new study that came out that said that 62% of Planned Parenthood abortion facilities are located within walking distance, 2 miles of high black and African American neighborhoods, and 79% when you add in Latino neighborhoods.
Wow. Well, is this going to serve as a wake-up call to the black community, to the Latino community?
We're certainly hoping it is, and this is a talking point we've been using for years, and bringing folks like Day Gardner to the forefront, having African American leaders going into their churches and talking about abortion as an issue, because it's quite frankly it's not an issue that's been talked about enough in the African American community. And the fact is, African Americans have abortions at 3.4 times higher than white Americans. So 30% of all abortions in America are performed in African American women, when only 12.5% of our U.S. population are African Americans. It's disproportionate, and you know where they're advertising.
Hearing that testimony in that documentary of where that nurse was playing with the baby and then the baby was actually killed after that, it's so disturbing. Do you think as people learn more about the horrific things that allegedly went on in the clinic, that their minds are going to be changed about abortion?
Sure, I definitely think this trial is going to be one of the final nails. You know, when we look back at the history of abortion and how abortion was ended in America, they're going to look at this as one of the final nails in the abortion industry's coffin. Because what was really interesting that came out during this trial is Kermit Gosnell is black, yet he had separate waiting rooms for black and Hispanic women and white women. And it was really interesting during the trial, it came out, the defense was saying, oh, going after Kermit Gosnell is racist. But really, Gosnell was the racist, and that's what he was practicing, was racism.
Wow, this is so disturbing, but thank you for shedding light on all of this for us. Kristin Hawkins with Students for Life, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
The Obama administration is accusing China's military of carrying out computer-based attacks against the U.S. The accusations come in the Pentagon's annual report to Congress. It says China has been spying on U.S. diplomatic, economic, and defense programs. The report also warns the computer skills needed for this kind of espionage are similar to the kind needed to conduct cyber warfare. This is the first time the U.S. has so directly accused the Chinese government and its military of using cyber attacks to steal U.S. government strategy. North Korea is once again threatening the U.S. and South Korea, this time over joint naval drills taking place in the Yellow Sea. North Korea says it will strike if any of the shells from the drills fall into its territory. And if the allies respond, Pyongyang vows to hit 5 South Korean islands. Today, President Obama met with the South Korean president. Mr. Obama said the North's threats fail to strike a chord and that the U.S. and South Korea are fully capable of defending themselves. An American pastor imprisoned in Iran turns 33 today. Saeed Abedini was arrested 223 days ago for refusing to deny his Christian faith. He's in solitary confinement inside Evin Prison, one of the worst prisons in the world. Members of his family tried visiting him in prison a day before his birthday, but prison officials turned them away. There are growing concerns about Pastor Saeed's health. He's said to be suffering from internal bleeding from beatings he sustained in prison. On May 19th, churches across the U.S. and around the world are urged to join in a national day of prayer for Pastor Saeed. For all the latest on the pastor, you can go to our website, cbnnews.com. The deadly attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi is back in the spotlight on Capitol Hill this week. A high-level State Department official is challenging the White House's account of what happened, and that's fueling Republican charges that the Obama administration is engaged in a cover-up. George Thomas reports.
3 men, all career State Department employees, will testify this week that the White House misled the country on what happened at the U.S. diplomatic mission in Benghazi, Libya. One of them is Gregory Hicks. He was the number 2 man in Libya. He will tell Congress that he knew immediately the attack wasn't in response to a protest. According to interview transcripts, Hicks says, "I thought it was a terrorist attack from the get-go. I think everybody in the mission thought it was a terrorist attack from the beginning." U.S. Ambassador to Libya Chris Stevens died in the attack along with 3 other Americans. Yet 5 days after the attack on September 11, 2012, UN Ambassador Susan Rice went on multiple Sunday shows, blaming the incident on an anti-Muslim video that appeared on the internet. She insisted the attack was spontaneous. Some Republicans say the administration's response was calculated, coming on the heels of a presidential election less than 2 months away.
Well, clearly there was a political decision to say something different than what was reasonable to say.
Hicks will also testify that a small team of U.S. Special Forces were ready to fly a rescue mission to Benghazi, but were ordered to stand down. This directly contradicts the White House, which said all available resources were explored to respond to the attacks. This past weekend, several Democrats said Rice's comments about the attack were wrong, and that references to Islamic extremists and Al-Qaeda were scrubbed from her so-called talking points. Some Republicans accused the Obama administration of trying to downplay the threat posed by terrorists.
There's sort of a tendency to underplay what is in fact, I think, a growing and pretty dangerous and to some extent a different kind of threat than what we were facing, you know, 3 or 4 years ago.
Hicks has also told investigators that Ambassador Rice's response may have hampered efforts to capture those responsible for the Benghazi attacks, saying, "I firmly believe that the reason it took us so long to get the FBI to Benghazi is because of those Sunday talk shows." Hicks and the 2 State Department employees will speak publicly for the first time Wednesday when they appear before Congress. George Thomas, CBN News.
Russia needs to take a tougher stance against Syrian President Bashar Assad. Secretary of State John Kerry made that point while visiting Moscow today. Russian President Vladimir Putin is Assad's most powerful ally. Secretary Kerry told Putin the U.S. and Russia have common interests in Syria. They both want stability and both want to prevent a rise in extremism in the region. Here at home, police are still gathering details after the amazing rescue of 3 women in Cleveland. The women had been kidnapped and held for 10 years. Now with 3 men under arrest, authorities say a 6-year-old girl found in the house is the daughter of one of the women. John Waggy has more.
Joy in Ohio, as 3 cold cases involving 3 missing women are now solved.
Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus have all been located.
It's a miracle of God. It's nothing short of a miracle. I just broke into joyful tears. Gina did remember everyone. She asked for her brother and sister and her nieces that they all lived with.
The women were found in this house on a quiet Cleveland street after a neighbor heard one of them scream for help.
And I look and then see this girl, and she just going nuts on the door. We had to kick open the bottom. Luckily on that door was aluminum, it was cheap. And she climbed out with her daughter. She went to my house, we called 911.
Hello, please, help me, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here, I'm free now.
Amanda Berry, now 27, disappeared in 2003, the day before her 17th birthday. Inside the house, police also found Gina DeJesus, missing since age 14, and Michelle Knight, who vanished in 2002 at the age of 21. Doctors at a Cleveland hospital examined the women for possible abuse. They have since been released. Authorities say a 6-year-old girl also found in the house is Berry's daughter.
Thankfully, and I mean thankfully, due to Amanda's brave actions, these 3 women are alive today.
Police have a short time before they must decide whether to file charges against Ariel Castro and his 2 brothers, all in their 50s, who are in custody. For now, relatives of the women and an entire city celebrate.
She said they're doing really well, and they're just skinny, but they're fine. It's just so surreal right now. It's just unbelievable. I just can't even believe this after all these years, and it was right down the street from my grandmother's house.
Officials are looking for a possible connection with 2 other missing persons cases in the Cleveland area, but the focus now is on the 3 women, helping them reunite with family and friends and to decompress from nearly a decade of isolation. John Waggy, CBN News.
Wow, praise God, they're set free. Well, it was a record day on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above 15,000 for the first time. It's just another sign of economic recovery in the country. So far, the Dow is up 15% this year. The S&P and NASDAQ also closed up today. Coming up, what the Boston Marathon bombing means for the future of marathon security across the U.S.
Ow, my feet hurt. My feet hurt, your feet hurt. White hot pain, I wanna cry. Is there anything I can try?
Why, yes! Introducing Strut Soul Angels, the human shock absorber that helps alleviate foot pain.
The first 10 steps in the morning to the bathroom were excruciating. Within 3 days after I put Struts on, it's been such a relief.
Slipped it on and almost immediately I felt a support, kind of like a pillow underneath my arches.
The Struts Soul Angel provides a great amount of relief and support throughout the course of the day, providing shock absorption and relief of pain.
On your feet without proper support can be painful. Strut Soul Angels promotes better balance, control, and body alignment. Standing in your heels all day is painful, but slip on Struts and you'll enjoy comfort and support 24/7. Struts is so versatile, you'll wear them in every shoe you own, even barefoot.
I'm on my feet all the time. I teach 11 and 12-year-olds. The pain was so much that I knew I had to do something. And with the Struts, I can do my job and enjoy my job.
I usually am on my feet from 8 to 12 hours a day. When I wear my Struts, it's like giving my feet a hug all day.
It's life-changing. I wear them from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed.
Why pay $400 for custom orthotics?
Now get Strut Soul Angels for just $10. You also get Miracle Foot Repair Cream, absolutely free. Use it to help relieve dry, calloused feet overnight. But wait, call right now and we'll double the offer free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Plus, you get a 100% money-back guarantee. If not completely delighted, send it back. But keep the foot cream as our gift just for trying. You get it all. A $70 value for just $10.
Oh, yeah! love my struts. The best thing since sliced bread. They heal pain from toes to head. Get yours now, your doctor said.
Struts, be nice to your feet. Call now.
Call 1-800-787-1580 and get your struts and miracle foot repair for just $10 and we'll double the offer. That's 1-800-787-1580 or visit getstruts.com.
Only 3 weeks after the Boston bombings, the FBI says they've stopped another terror plot. 24-year-old Buford Rogers was arrested at his home in Minnesota. That after authorities found pipe bombs, Molotov cocktails, and a Romanian AKM assault rifle. Officials say he has ties to an American militia group and was planning attacks against local residents and possibly government officials. The FBI says the alleged plot was discovered through intelligence gathered by local, state, and federal authorities. Investigators are working to make sure justice is served in the Boston bombing. But what does that attack mean for the future of marathons? The running world is faced with a tough new reality. A race can be a target for terrorism. Caitlin Burke has more.
Security is something that at some point we all take for granted. The Boston Marathon bombings mark the first time in history that a U.S. marathon has directly been targeted, bringing security into the spotlight.
It does take the innocence away because you know in the back of your mind you're always going to be thinking what could happen or this could happen.
Virginia Beach native Chad Wilkins ran in this year's Boston Marathon. His family left the spot where the first bomb went off only 15 minutes before it exploded.
It was just by the grace of God that he didn't set the bomb off while my family was still there.
As the running community continues to process the bombings, race organizers are working on ways to improve security, determined to help their runners feel safe again.
J&A Racing puts on many of the road races here in Virginia Beach. They recently brought in an FBI agent to advise them on making their future races as safe as possible.
I just think that for any runner that's out there, I think that to know that any of our races that J&A organizes, the runner is always the first thought that we have in the back of our mind. So we will always make sure our races are secure, that the areas are safe, and we'll make it fun for them.
Some of those increased safety measures will include more police presence at the end of the race, a more secure bag checking policy, and surveillance cameras set up along the course and at the finish. Increased security or no, runners say that the threat of terrorism won't keep them from racing, and many are already looking forward to running next year in Boston.
Running is sort of a foundation or bedrock in our lives. It's what we do. Running isn't just sort of a sport, it becomes a lifestyle for a lot of people, and this certainly isn't going to affect that with most dedicated runners.
I saw something that was written that said that don't mess with runners who pay to run 26.2 miles on their day off. So I think runners are strong. I think most of them are educated. It's a tight-knit group, and I just don't think that it's a group really that you mess with, because they will make it through it.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Up next, radical Muslims attacking Christians. We'll show you where.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Yeah. Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes now.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
If you have Medicare and have a chronic breathing condition, you can take your medication using an inhaler. Or this, a portable nebulizer from Med4Home. Independent studies have shown a nebulizer may be more effective and easier to use than just an inhaler. Impressive. It's like getting hospital-quality treatment at home. So call Med4Home today to find out more. Med4Home is a specialty pharmacy that's here to help you however they can. They'll deal with your doctor, the paperwork, even ship for free. And their pharmacists and respiratory therapists are available 24/7. What's more, your nebulizer and medications may even be covered by your Part B benefits. For a better treatment at a much better price, call Med4Home now to learn how a portable nebulizer can help you start breathing better today. For more information, call 1-800-210-5821.
Tanzanian police have arrested 6 people following a church bombing that claimed at least 2 lives Sunday, including 4 Saudi suspects. The attack happened as hundreds of Christians gathered for a church dedication in Arusha. The town is popular with tourists going on safari near Mount Kilimanjaro. A Vatican ambassador was among those attending the first ever mass at the church. He wasn't injured, but witnesses say as many as 60 others were hospitalized. Militant Islamists have attacked at least 30 Tanzania churches in the past 2 years. 10 people died after recent attacks on a church and a local market in northern Nigeria. Last year, more Christians were killed there than in any other country. In tonight's Focus Report, senior international correspondent Gary Lane tells us why Nigerian believers are being targeted and what can be done to help them.
Bombings like this one gave Nigeria the sad distinction of the nation with the highest Christian death toll. More than 900 Christians reportedly were killed in Nigeria last year, victims of the Boko Haram terrorist group and other Islamic militants.
They are so radical that they do not even spare Muslims. If Muslims are sympathetic to any cause at all, if they are sympathetic to the Christians' cause, or the minorities' cause, they are also termed as, infidels.
In 2013, radicals have killed more than 120 Nigerians, most of them Christians. Gregory Lar is an international human rights attorney.
It is happening now at this time because there appears to be a new resurgence, a new Islamic awareness on the need to further propagate their religion.
Because of this wave of violence, various groups in southern Nigeria are taking up arms to protect the Christians. Attorney Emmanuel Ogebe warns the country may be on the brink of a broader conflict.
Because of the massive Christian-Muslim population in Nigeria, there's no country on earth that is as rich and ready for a religious war. All the elements, all the ingredients are there.
Ogebe spoke at a recent conference sponsored by the Washington, D.C.-based Jubilee campaign. Some panelists criticized the U.S. State Department's reluctance to blame the violence in Nigeria on Islamic extremism.
The route they are taking is dangerous, it's against American interests, and it's not positive, it's not sensible. The ultimate aim of this is extremism. It's not just to wipe out Christians. It will hit back here ultimately.
For years, Islamic militants limited their attacks on Christians to the 12 northern Nigerian states where Sharia law is in place. Now they're pressing into central and southern states where Christians are in the majority. World Magazine reporter Mindy Bells says the pattern is all too familiar.
We've seen it happen in Sudan, we've seen it in Mali, we've seen it in parts of the Middle East and other parts of North Africa. When that happens, what is growing up in there are also the seeds of terrorism that is targeting the West.
So what is the solution to stop the attacks against Christians and others? Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan has proposed a possible amnesty for Boko Haram terrorists. Stephanos Foundation founder Mark Lipto says amnesty would be a mistake.
It goes to say that the government must have to succumb to the pressure of terror. And then we see that it will go in to reward the perpetrator to continue to carry out his carnage. That is wrong.
The problem has gone beyond Nigeria alone. Like it actually has its roots in Mali, in Libya. So even if the Nigerian situation is well contained and the borders are not secure, you have not solved the problem.
Lipto suggests Christians united in prayer can make a difference.
What we see is disunity that has taken on the church. And so the voiceless are not being represented. But if we look to the person Christ and avoid all these differences and come together, we will be able to give a voice to the voiceless. And that is what we're called to do.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Up next, special delivery in a parking lot. We're going to tell you an unforgettable birth story.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
If you have Medicare and have a chronic breathing condition, you can take your medication using an inhaler. Or this, a portable nebulizer from Med4Home. Independent studies have shown a nebulizer may be more effective and easier to use than just an inhaler. Impressive. It's like getting hospital-quality treatment at home. So call Med4Home today to find out more. Med4Home is a specialty pharmacy that's here to help you however they can. They'll deal with your doctor, the paperwork, even ship for free. And their pharmacists and respiratory therapists are available 24/7. What's more, your nebulizer and medications may even be covered by your Part B benefits. For a better treatment at a much better price, call Med4Home now to learn how a portable nebulizer can help you start breathing better today. For more information, call 1-800-210-5821.
Welcome back. A Sacramento woman has a pretty memorable birth story to tell her new son. Josephine Rosales' story starts out the same as most. She went into labor and told her husband Fritz it was time to go to the hospital. But on the way there, they had to stop for gas. And then they were stopped at a train crossing for nearly 20 minutes. Time was running out, so Fritz pulled into a Sam's Club parking lot and called 911.
He got out of the car, ran from one side to the other, and baby's coming. I said, now push, honey, push. And the baby came out, landed on my forearm, made sure he was breathing, and he wasn't. And I go, oh my God, he's not breathing. And a couple seconds later, he laid out a cry. He made a cry. I go, good.
When it's time, it's time. An ambulance quickly arrived on the scene and took over. And as you can see there, baby and mom are doing well. That's a great way to end the show. That's all for this edition of NewsWatch. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Have a great night.